explosive way. Crushed it out during the qualifiers, went into the solos, and all of them placed really well. A lot of them placed well in the solos. But it does look like we are going to go ahead and jump over to the map here. We can see everybody is up into the in the air here. We're just going to wait for them to go ahead and take a land. In the spread here, I think that we might end up possibly with a Ranchito finish. We do have that northeast grouping of players. That is a very tight pack. I absolutely expect this to be a Ranchito or farther, possibly all the way up to Misty Peak, which would be insane.
I'm going to make a weird call here. We're kicking it off big from Atlanta right now at DreamHack. I think we're going to have a Harris Bluffs finish. I think it's just going to go.
I think it's just sick last night. You didn't say PV.
I know. I think it's going to skew to the west here. I think it's going to be up in the north, though. That is for sure. But just want to remind you guys, we're just jumping in now. If you go over to h1z1.com/watch, you can actually be seeing all of the kills live during this match.
Yeah,
so you can actually keep a better track of the stats there. And, of course, the stream will be available as well. But this is the first Fives match that we're going to get to watch today, Supersonic. We should let everyone at home know exactly how this looting phase is going to play out and what the teams are looking to accomplish here.
Yeah, so the teams right now are definitely looking to just get looted up. They want to avoid other teams. You normally have one or two guys, possibly the whole team, depending on which grouping it is, stay in the air longer than you normally would in a normal match and try and see where your opponents are. You're going to come down, try and find your helmets, your ARs, all of your rifles, shotguns, etc. Get your team to a point that you have enough medical supplies that you feel confident enough to go out and start securing in the mid-game that safe zone and trying to get the best possible spot that you can hold and defend for the longest possible amount of time.
Now, what do teams actually go through? What is that thought process, whether or not to divide and conquer, to split up, or if they actually want to stay very tight together when they are in that initial looting phase? And we were just completely off with that ring.
What happened? There is no – the ring went ahead and just does not want me to be able to hit. I only get one for the weekend, and they're going to go ahead and drop out.
And that was an easy one.
That was a. I thought it was an easy one. I thought that I was gifted something, and I was baited.
Ring aside, though, I think this is like a really big thing for everyone at home to be paying attention to, because sometimes you will see these teams split up very far. I mean, if you look right now at this team in the top right, Obey, they're able to kind of split up with the inside of Ranchito, and then some of the other teams are going to be grouped much more tightly together. Some of them sending 2 players off into a different area, while 3 of them stay grouped.
Yeah, so the way that these guys are going to do it, when you're out on the outside edge of the map and you've landed and you know nobody's around you, you can be a little bit more spread out, spend a little bit more time looting areas and spread. But once you get into the city, you need to stay close enough that if somebody gets shot at, you need to be able to come in and support your team. And most of these guys are always going to typically don't go off in solos. You're going to see them kind of split and at least have one travel buddy with them, because you want that support if somebody rolls in on you.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge thing. I mean, you can change the tide of a fight if you can be getting multiple crosshairs on the aggressor. But at this point, everyone is going to try to avoid fights as much as possible. No one is trying to gun right now. Big thing, just making sure that you get everything that you need to be kitted for the rest of the match. I think if we see anyone in a possible engagement, maybe a couple warning shots, but for the most part, they are just going to swim away from each other.
Yeah, this early game plays out much slower than it does in solos. It is a lot more hectic when you get into that late game, though.
Yeah, that's kind of how the pacing of Fives does end up playing out. I mean, it's a little bit slower at the beginning, but it's way faster at the end. You go from all of a sudden having at least 24 players on the map, right?
Yeah, you go 60 to 0 real quick.
It is definitely how it is going to go, but as we can see, we're starting to get kitted here pretty fast, and the way that this is going to transition after everyone does feel confident, they will start to rotate on over to that safe zone and try to get the best piece of real estate that they can, set up a nice little home there, and try to defend it throughout the course of the game. But we have seen time and time again that that plan does not always work very well if the gas decides not to agree. And on top of all of that, you have the other teams who are just going to be an agent of chaos, trying to destroy your dreams of setting up a home.
And here we have Guarani, who actually performed very well yesterday, taking down Game 1 of the solo finals, and I believe he actually took down 4th, so cracking that top 5, going home with a little bit of money, a little bit of extra from that bounty system, which we haven't talked about yet today. There's a bounty system in place, and you make $100 per kill, plus most kills is going to take down a $3,000 bonus.
Yeah, and that is going to be going on throughout the course of the entirety of this series, so that's going to be all 3 games, so that gets combined together for the $3,000, but obviously that is just way more opportunity to be getting money on every single kill. So if you slay out, get 2 kills throughout the course of each game, that's going to add up to 600. Imagine what you can do if you get something like 6 kills. But I want to talk about Gorani for just a little bit here. He, of course, is representing World's Best Gaming. He's on that squad. Yep. And the reaction that we saw from them yesterday when he managed to take, I believe it was the 2nd game in that final solo series. Yeah. It was just a sight to be seen.
Dude, that was
whole
just, squad, man.
Oh, man, but that was just kind of yesterday one of the best parts. We actually got to see a lot of the players sitting in that front row and their reactions when their teammates did win. Hey, sometimes we saw teammates kill each other yesterday, but there's nothing but camaraderie at the end of the match.
Yeah, the World's Best Crew is definitely a bunch of nut jobs, man, and I mean that in the best way possible. So Bobby Ham, the owner of that organization, actually lives in the same city with me. I hang out with him a lot, and that guy is absolutely insane. He is a personality and then some, and
that's one of the
his
best.
Girl is just the same as we saw her running around doing the cheers. She did the soccer goal run down the sidelines, arms in the air.
It was like the Price is Right run, kind
of.
Yeah, it was something to see. Definitely go back and check that out in the VODs. But that's one of my favorite things about esports, though, when you really see all of the players on the team and the team itself just having a personality, and that's why following teams is so exciting, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear very little inside these headsets, but yesterday sitting there with the live crowd in front of us and everybody was actually rushing the stage and just yelling at us, the energy was insane.
Yeah, I mean, that is actually a big thing to know because some of the players do go through as well. These headsets they're noise dampening, so they'll basically, you won't be able to hear anything clearly, right? But you can still hear the roar when the crowd goes wild.
You can feel it.
Yeah, it'll shake. So that's one of the conditions that these players are actually exposed to when being at LAN, and it is something that you have to adapt to. But now we are going to see that air crate hit the ground. Doesn't seem like anyone is too close to it at the moment. We can expect a fight to potentially go down here, but if anyone gets out ahead of the rest of the bodies, they may be able to take this one for free without even investing a smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one's going to actually have 2 laminated. That's a big pickup if somebody can get there early and get this. Now, we saw this safe zone happen yesterday, I believe, in the first round of Group B. Now, this safe zone was absolutely brutal. So we actually see Epsilon here, and I believe Team Caliber had this position yesterday. But we saw the way this one played out when the safe zone pulled to the south side of this first circle, and it ended up being really rough for teams like Rogue, where you kind of got RNG'd in a sense out of it, but the safe zone's going to pull one way or the other, and one half of the group is going to be in a good spot, and one half is going to have to try to rotate. And it was absolutely brutal on the rotations yesterday. We also saw STD, who performed very well in that round, but they had an opening starting zone that if they could have held that the whole match would have been great, but the gas ended up forcing them down the hill, which
I think we can really focus on this safe zone for a second here because we didn't talk much about what it actually meant to the match because we were just so surprised that this was the ring that we actually did see here in this first game of this final series. We saw teams take this little island on the lake, and like you said, they end up getting pushed off. But what is that final series of engagements going to look like? What does this telegraph for the end of the game being around where you like some initial shots going to ring out here, though? It's going to be CLG letting them rip through the sky. This is just a warning. They want this hill, and they have 2 cop cars up there alongside them. They can rain a little bit of terror from above here, but that is just a warning shot. They're not looking for any major kills, but as you can see, ELH, they're set up pretty well in this little environment. A lot of cover there. Epsilon, though, with eyes on them as well. In that 250-meter range, we can see pros 2-tap at this length.
It's pretty rough. 250's a long one. I do believe that there's actually cabins there. Those guys are inside. I don't think we're going to see any real engagements there, but we do see Impact Gaming coming through. Candy Van back there a little in the back. It looks like he's got a travel buddy in his vehicle too. They're going to hear some shots ring out as ELH kind of says, hey, we're here already, back off, and they're going to dip out the other direction. But we do have Epsilon having this middle area of the safe zone in the center of the lake, which works out well as long as the safe zone continues to center. If the safe zone decides to pull, as you can see, there is no cover on any side of the island, and if you have to travel into teams that are already set up on the outside edge of this lake, you are in a really, really rough spot.
So, yeah, exactly. It's a risk. but it is a very high reward risk to set yourself up on that middle island. Because what happens if it doesn't center? You have to move through the lake, which is just wide open. So then those other teams, like you mentioned, who are set up on the outskirts of the lake are going to have clear lines on you. They're going to be able to sink some serious damage right into flesh most of the time. But the same is true. If it does keep centering, if that safe zone keeps narrowing onto that island, the teams that are set up on the outside are going to have to collapse in. And you know what? If you're set up on it, you are just sitting up on that perch, and you are going to be able to knock teams down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that center safe zone, if it centers and we can, or a little off center, but if it ends up on that island, it works out really well for the people that got there early, because most of them aren't going to try and shoot the guy on the other side of the island. They'll leave a scout to make sure nobody's running up on him. But you basically have two teams that are just going to hold off everybody from coming onto the island. They try and drive across the water. Their cars are going to get ripped apart, and we're going to see the safe zone actually shift north. So we're not going to quite see the same issues that we saw for teams yesterday. We're going to have a lot more Spence Hills. We saw everybody avoid Spence Hills in the safe zone yesterday, and that's most likely from Fight for the Crown, because the Fight for the Crown event, the Spence Hills safe zone was brutal.
Yeah, that was something that we started to talk about yesterday as well, and that it's something that's already kind of been tested. Teams have seen how that final fight could work out there if you try to set up there. A thing to note, though, on the map, we did see one team very far off to the south, hasn't necessarily rotated to that safe zone yet. Do you think they're a little too far out here, Supersonic, or do you think they're just biding their time, trying to make sure they are on the outskirts of this ring?
They're biding their time. So, I mean, I'm not sure which team was to the southwest. I know Denial's in that southeast. Both those teams are just trying to hold that outer edge of the safe zone. We definitely saw the south side of the safe zones be really just not filled, and we also saw open field areas being left open, which allowed Echo Fox and Team Caliber to absolutely come in and mop up at the end, because nobody came and challenged them the entire game. That whole west side and south sides of the map seemed to just get left alone.
Now on board with Echo Fox, and we saw them do some serious work yesterday. Few shots kissing the bumper of their car for a second there.
Yeah, it looks like we got 4 of them here. Trying to figure out where the 5th one is.
Saw them way off.
There's probably another car here behind them somewhere.
There
he is,
Howie. He's the caboose of that caravan, trying to catch up here to his teammates as they seem to be rotating over to a different POI to maybe set up base.
And that is a slow plane, so we should be seeing that new airdrop crate coming out of that one. You can usually spot the difference on them based on the speed of the plane. The slower one, gonna drop that, and then we'll hear a faster one come through in a moment, and it'll actually be the bomb run, and you wanna be out of the way of this. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about with these and the way the bombs function is it's going to spawn from a random direction, and it's going to draw a straight line. Now, the bombs are going to start right about on the crate. So if you drive towards the plane from the crate, you're out of the bomb's path. If you fly with the plane, you're going to have an issue.
Yeah, that is a huge thing to note. We saw just how deadly that salvo can be, taking out some teams yesterday, one of them in particular being Allure. I mean, they found themselves in a very tight position.
Both games, Allure had to deal with and that's some of the luck side, the poker side, the getting rivered out side, where it unfortunately happened to them twice, where they were in situations that they got forced into fights that they didn't want or had to stay in the path of the bombs. Either one isn't going to work out for you.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing was they had relatively aggressive positioning next to Noble Gaming, and then the bombs came down. They just got stuck in between a rock and a hard place, running into the bombs instead of Noble Gaming, hoping that
bombs,
they can
Noble or Vigor.
Yeah, they had Vigor right near them too. That is true. They were just
pinned in the bomb's path.
They were definitely pinned in there, and ultimately they make that decision to play with fire. Bomb's going to cut them down. So that is something to note every time that we actually do see one of these crates drop down.
That rotation of Denial was extreme. So Denial goes from all the way on the south side. Looks like they took the river all the way towards the northeast side of that safe zone. It looks like that they do have a plan in place or an idea of where they want to be on this shift of the safe zone.
Yeah, and the strategy could pay off. But now, as you can see with Echo Fox, we have Jerk Chicken.
Mr. Chicken himself, just waiting on it.
By himself, I mean, he does seem to have cover, though, from the remainder of his team. They're about 150 meters off from him there, taking some cover up above that ridge. But Jerk Chicken may be making the play
He hears the plane coming. He's going to get out of the way, and we have another double laminated there. He's going to back off. We'll see if they decide to come back in for it or not. But yeah, they're hanging out within range to be that support. They need to be there to get in time to help their teammate should he take fire.
They have two lines of play available here. It looks like Jerk Chicken is going to take the one that we already mentioned, which is to actually go for the crate. The other is they hang out and wait for someone else to come for it and start that early engagement and try to defend the crate. This is a pretty standard play here. So now he's going to see that second laminated, most likely going to try to throw that into the trunk of the car, throw another one on his body for now.
Yeah, only little minor thing that I think that he could have changed up there just in case. You have your team holding down one side. You know that 180-degree side there is basically safe. And Jerk's gonna get caught by the bombs and goes down. Almost makes it out, doesn't escape though. Echo Fox gonna have to come in, hop into the car, start grabbing those items that he just got, and get out of there. That is an unfortunate first death, and definitely not the way that you want to start off this match.
You cannot be losing bodies this early. We saw that Echo Fox was able to dominate due to their man advantage throughout the beginning stages, throughout the qualifying stages, keeping that fifth man alive for such a long period there. That bomb salvo comes in, and that is going to put them on the back foot for the remainder of this match. We've barely entered the mid game. We haven't seen teams even start to nibble on each other, trying to tax each other and take resources away. Jerk Chicken makes the play for that crate, gets both those lammies, but now his team has resources that are much less valuable than Jerk Chicken.
Yeah, the plane was coming, he heard it, but he actually drove slightly with it. He wasn't exactly direct with the plane, but it's a pretty wide spread of the bombs, so he could have had the option to go the other way and turn left when he came out of the smoke and drive back up through the trees, but he tried to outrun it the other direction, and it just narrowly doesn't make it out, just barely gets him.
Now, if you are Team Echo Fox, how much is this going to change your outlook on the rest of the game? Do you think that they go for a different line of play? I mean, I feel like they need to play slightly more passively if possible.
I don't know if you can play more passively than what they did yesterday. They played very, very passive, and that even with 4, we talked about it, going down a player is huge. That really hurts your chances of taking down the game. But if they can come in and do cleanup and pick off at both teams that are fighting, like 2 teams that are fighting at each other, and eat away at both of them to try and even out the number so that it's 4-on-4, they just need to make sure that they affect everybody in that final circle so that they're not going into a 4-on-5.
If any team could do it, it is Echo Fox. If you are an Echo Fox fan, do not count these guys out yet. I'm sure you are still cheering for them, but as we saw yesterday, they were incredibly apt at taking those fights, like you've mentioned, Supersonic, and on top of that, we saw them actually being able to sacrifice Mini. So he tried to get that flank going, tried to bait out some other teammates, created space on the field. Definitely not going to be able to do something like that with 4 players, but if the 4 players who are up can gun efficiently, they should still be able to win a lot of these fights. But jumping on board with ELH, these guys seem to have been holding this position for quite some time, and it may be paying off.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of these guys actually used to be teammates of Howie from Echo Fox. So Zeke here's played with him quite a bit. We've seen him in tournaments. We've seen Rizar play with him. So it's interesting to see as the scene developed, some of these guys end up on opposite squads of each other from who they played with for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, and now they got to give each other a little bit of love taps here and there and put each other down, and I think it's a little bit of friendly rivalry. It's not quite the same as killing your teammate in solos, but killing one of these guys probably actually feels pretty good to kind of stick it to them.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of love in those shots, but a lot more of I want to take home the 150K prize pool that is here today. I do agree with you, though. It's one of the most interesting things as the scene starts to develop, to see the roster changes, to see when they happen, and to see what that optimal squad is going to be for each player. On board with LG, this is Drazzle. We had him up on the stage a little bit earlier, and
great
this is
eyebrows.
One of the guys. Right? Just incredible eyebrows.
Did you see the GIF? Somebody gifted him out. Luminosity actually gifted him out and put it out yesterday on Twitter. If you guys haven't seen that, it's hilarious.
I used to pride myself on my eyebrows, and
You're
now
not there yet.
I have goals now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Drazzle.
Drazzle, you showed him the way. And this circle is the one that cuts it down and starts the powder keg that we talk about every time. There is a lot of open terrain here, and we are going to see a lot of teams get cut. This movement of the circle, not moving towards Spence Hills, is going to be rough for some of these teams. IG, Impact Gaming, with a great spot, I believe, once we actually get to see them. I do believe they're holding down the airport area here. Actually, they're not in there. They're actually a little bit off. Denial with a really solid area with this ridge and the tree cover. They have a lot of options with their cars in there. We'll see how they play that one out.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Denial. The main cover for this area, a lot of the cover, as you can see, we have these scattered trees. A lot of teams going to try to hide out in there, but also a lot of texture. They can get inside of these ridges. Denial has both of these things going for them, and we didn't get to see much out of Denial yet. They were one of those invited pre-qualified teams, and also we look at Pineapples. Didn't have the best run in solos, maybe being a little cold, being qualified in both of these events. Has had the chance to warm up now. We're going to have to see what he can do right now. And you can see him rotating back up to the rest of his team. He's probably getting a few more resources. They're going to decide to leave this area of cover, though, trying to push up.
I don't think that they see anybody actually within the airport, and I think that they're actually going to try and take it. I think they fully intend. You can hear them shooting, and what they're actually doing right now is they're eliminating all the explosive barrels anywhere near their vehicles inside of these buildings, because that causes chaos. This is something that a lot of the players just don't like, and they try to eliminate them because they don't want to be anywhere near an explosive barrel at all.
So Nile decides to push up here. They have a pretty decent area to hang out with. They have tree cover. They have that texture from the ridges, but ultimately are going to favor these buildings, and that's going to allow for some very nice peak fire from them, and after they've exploded those barrels, it is going to protect them quite a bit.
Yeah, the other thing, though, that we talked about is that you're eliminating your ability to see the line, and Epsilon, with a super aggressive play, are going to roll up, get guns blazing. Apex Shay going to take out Cam Soda out of the car, lighting up the vehicle of Team Caliber. That vehicle most likely took a ton of damage and is going to be unusable for Team Caliber. The car, as it deteriorates, becomes much slower. It loses its torque, its ability to turn. Epsilon making a big play early there to eliminate another player, and TK is coming back to try and swoop up and pick up Linden, who is on the edge of death.
Yeah, he manages to get that smoke down to try to heal himself out. His teammates come through with the whip, try to pick him up and get him out, but beautiful play from Epsilon there.
Really
kind of
aggressive.
It's very aggressive, but it's that guerrilla style. You know, they all hop out, and that was incredible shot calling. As
Controlled aggressiveness, though. They
exactly.
had cover to use with that ridge line on
but
the hop.
On top of that, the shot calling was impeccable. They picked one player, sunk all of their shots in, and then after that is when they rotate to the second player. They realize that they've been aggressive for a while, decide to peel out, and they take resources left and right. They take away the car, and they also get to take away a man, and now this is going to be the optimal crate. We already saw how dangerous it could be. Jerk Chicken trying to move in there, sweep up these two Lammies. But if a team can get this safely, grab the Lammies that are inside of it and also the hunting rifle.
Aqua getting a kill there onto Grimmy. Not sure what actually caused it. Looks like it may have been a run over. Sometimes if it shows the two names, it's typically one player running over another, or he shot him and then the guy died to the gas and it nets you the kill. So Aqua scoring a kill there onto CLG early. So we've got 3 teams down a player already. We've got TK down to 4, Echo Fox down to 4, and CLG down to 4.
Yeah, and that is going to be absolutely huge. The teams that still have 5 men obviously going to have that advantage, but the most important thing that we're going to be paying attention to for the next couple of minutes here is which positions these teams decide to hold, because we are dangerously close to that final brawl popping off.
Yeah, this is a lot of open. There's a lot of these small tree areas that you can kind of make use of. Denial loses a lot of vision here being inside, but right now they're just trying to avoid any fights whatsoever, and there's a ton of cover for them. As long as the safe zone continues to center, they'll be all right, but they don't get as much information on where everybody is, and they are going to be forced to move, and this is going to be a ton of open field here. There is some ridge lines, hills, little dips and valleys in it, but this is going to be the ability, kind of like we saw in that open field play yesterday from Echo Fox, but it's going to start much earlier with this safe zone.
Yeah, and as we can see, another kill going to be picked up here. It's going to be Huskers. TK just gets eliminated.
They got stuck between Obey and Impact Gaming, and TK with only 4 left. It looks like they tried to go in and smoke off on the side of a hill there, but they have players down the hill and up the hill from them, and that's just not going to work out.
Epsilon just set that up, though, a little bit earlier when they were able to take out that first member from the squad. Now as the gas starts to encroach, I don't think we're going to have every team make it to – we already have one of them moving out, but I don't think we're going to have every team make it to the safe zone. There's just so much area to get aggressive here. Fox kind of Echo Fox kind of shantied up here right next to Denial, and as you mentioned, Denial losing some of their vision going inside of this building. There's Isco, the Slayer, who has gotten some serious work done throughout the weekend with the rest of his team, World Best Gaming, going to sink some shots at about 180, 200 meters, looking at CLG. Some damage coming in onto Nightwalker. He's about 50% in. Howie going to connect with Yogi. And as we said, these two teams very close to each other in close proximity. Now at an even man point, we're going to see Flame, though, steal that cop car.
The other car is actually extremely damaged, which leaves Denial with no mobility. Echo Fox makes a big play, takes down a player from Denial, who's a huge threat, eliminates their car, and drives away, honks the horn to say, hey boys, later, and they're going to go ahead and jack that car and get out of there. That does not feel good. Yogi, a big part of that team and somebody that's definitely a part of that shot calling for that squad.
Yeah, you know it was a big steal when you decide to just honk the horn out. When you screech out of there, that's got to feel really bad for Denial. They're brought down to they're brought down to 4 players, and then the ride is stolen from them. We see Beast fall down from Gangstars. Fight still breaking out here. It's going to be the members of Hale looking to get some shots into Epsilon. Gangstars getting down a member from CLG, but Mini goes down. This is going to be really bad for Echo Fox. Only 3 players, and Gangstars just getting deleted here. It looks like they only have 1 player left up. Adrian from LG going to fall down as well, and Gangstars get eliminated.
Yeah, Gangstars going to be the second team eliminated there. Echo Fox in a rough spot right now. Also, Kevy going to go ahead and take out 10K. That's going to put them down to, I believe, 2 players left. 2 players. It's going to be a rough spot for Echo Fox to play out of. I expect them to, and they lose another one with CBK Flame. I expect these guys to go ahead and play, or whoever's left, just hold off for placement points. Howie wants to get healed. Most likely, if they have the car, he's going to try and drive around and find another spot. But it looks like Obey either has only 1 player left, or it's just not, they may not be rendering in. But Howie needs to just hold off as long as he can. Wait for other teams to delete each other. This safe zone is going to remove a ton of players, and a lot of placement points are going to show up very, very quickly. So as long as he can just stay alive and hide out, he can still net his team a ton of points.
Yeah, you could see him there a little bit earlier in the smoke, and his health bar was going up. He started to get those heals flowing. He may decide to opt into the gas for a little bit here. That is what he does, but as he makes that run, it's going to be measly, cutting him down. That is Echo Fox eliminated. Such impressive placement yesterday. But with these top teams, they do get sent out a little bit early. They have 2 more games, though, to bring it back. But now we have our 9 teams. Denial with only 4 players here, bringing out shots, connecting onto Imperial Hall. Imperial is at about 75% health. He's engaged with Epsilon. It's going to be a member of Epsilon who gets sent home, but it's not from the shots from Hale. CLG pinching in. Now Denial connecting with them as well. Epsilon getting aggressive early, and it looks like they are going to be sent nearly home. Split is the only player left.
Every side they are getting hit from. So they just died to CLG, World's Best, and Hale. So they just lost members to 3 separate teams. That is a super rough spot to be in. Splintexify is not a happy man right now, and Obey is going off. Definitely with the most kills this game, I believe. Kevy now landing another grenade kill and catching Drassel. Drassel and his eyebrows are going home for game 1. He'll be back in the next one, though. And Razar coming in with a little bit of denial with the gas nades there, trying to take away some positioning and movement for WBG. And Triv now going to find a kill onto his boy Sloth from Denial.
That is big, too. We talked about Denial really starting to heat up. Now they are going to lose a man.
Yeah, Triv there actually used to be on
Look
denial.
at
I don't know.
Split.
Maybe that's a good feel for him. Tfue gonna go down here to Shell Shock. Splint gonna find a kill onto Imperial Hal. And Splint Hexify gonna finally go down to Blood Inferno. And that is gonna be it for Epsilon in game 1. ELH, Zeke gonna go down to another nade, or another player goes down to a nade from Shurima Wizard. And Nightwalker now eliminated by Golrani.
You got to give it to Epsilon, though, not going down without a fight, taking out one of those members in that final engagement. Amali gets sent straight into that smoke. Crank in a bad position. 3 Corsairs on him there, and we did see him get knocked out. Now it is going to be Measly to send home Memento, and a trade does come out. Blood Inferno taking out Calzy, and it's going to be the frag to send out Mobs, and this kill feed is just lighting up.
Yeah. WBG is going to just absolutely eat ELH here. Obey on the other side. Vago has nowhere to go. Piney is still sitting inside of the warehouse in the gas just trying to heal. I believe his team most likely dropped him some extra healables, and they made a decision early that they were down a player, a bad safe zone. Try and stay in and net as many points as you can. We are not going to take this game down, so we just need to get placement. We're going to leave one guy behind and take the fight. We saw him do it in Fight for the Crown and just narrowly edge out Rogue and make it into the placements to be here today as a qualified team. So they're very familiar with that strategy of just taking the gas and going for placement. Piney now actually has come out of the gas, though, and he is in a very rough spot, has smoked off a ton, gonna lay here, hope that nobody actually physically sees him, and he's just gonna wait this one out.
Yeah, World's Best Gaming finds themselves in an incredibly good position here. That's one of the teams I want to note. They could be doing some big things in this first game. They are also one of the most likely squads to get some eyes onto Pineapples as they start to rotate around right now. And Isco, this Slayer, can cut anyone down to size. They're going to move into the smoke. All they have to do is take Pineapples to move up in the ranks, and they are going to do it very cleanly. Now engaged into a fight with Obey, and we can see the shots sinking into Shurima Wizard, but he turns it around, knocking down Aqua. Then Shurima Wizard is taken out by Gas Runner. This fight is not over yet, though. Kevi going to be cut down. Measly following soon after, and Isco is lighting them up. Flowers on fire, going to get sent home by Chipsy from LG in that retreat. World's Best Gaming getting very aggressive there. They get to swing around the map. Flamehopper in between 2 smokes here and in between 3 teams.
Sitting in the back seat, this is insane. We saw Razar do this yesterday and then hop out of the car and net himself some extra placements. This is nuts. Flamehopper has to be shaking right now. This play, if it continues to work, is amazing.
And this is something that we saw Flamehopper do in Fight for the Crown as well. He is one of these other players who is good at doing this, and now he is in between that smoke, but he's still in the backseat of the car. Fight engaged. Going out.
Nuts,
no one sees him.
WBG's going down to Hale and Impact Gaming. I cannot believe that nobody spotted Flamehopper. Nobody's even shooting
right
the car.
In the middle
He's
of
just
absolutely
sitting there.
everyone.
He's
and no
just netted 3rd place. IG gonna take down Hale there. One more player from Hale left. Mig across the way. We have Flamehopper and Mig left. That's it. 1 player on each team. IG has not figured out that Flamehopper's in here. He's hoping that Hale goes out first. This play from Flamehopper is insane.
Flamehopper's an absolute ninja. He's still in the backseat. The shot's going to chip into the tree there. They know exactly where Mig is, but they have no idea where Flamehopper is on the map. IG going to swing around. They obviously have a huge man advantage. Look at Flamehopper just watching them run around him.
Oh, Mig actually spots him and goes for $100 before he's going to go down to Impact. And just, might as well, man. Make $100 if you're going to go down and net the points.
$100 and a huge placement.
And a huge placement. And Impact Gaming showing up big here in game 1, and they're going to take that one home. But the play from Flamehopper and how long he managed to just sit in that car with no one else. I'm wondering who threw the smokes. I'm wondering if he's sitting in the back seat just throwing smokes out there and hoping nobody finds him. That play was awesome. He didn't Fight for the Crown, did it again in here at Elite Series.
Very impressed by that play, but also by Mig there. Mig knew that he had to be somewhere else on the map. He sees him, and that shot from Mig, that kill from Mig, is going to secure his team that 2nd place finish because it was closed. The team was about to descend upon him, but they ultimately, it was pretty clear they were going to be able to get that 1st place finish.